What's up everyone, it's Tyler from 24 Concept, and today I'm going to show you my top tech picks for the upcoming back to school season. Now, I haven't been in college in 7 years. Wow, I graduated college 7 years ago. That's crazy. Funny enough, back in college, I actually spent a lot of my time buying and selling all sorts of different tech because my local Best Buy was literally across the street. That and back then, you could easily sell things on Amazon before they changed their individual seller rules. So pretty much every week I had some new keyboard, new phone, computer part, monitor, you name it. And the more I think about it, the more I wish I had documented or made some videos because I legit hustled some tech back then. In any case, before we dive in, I do want to give a big thanks to Lenovo for sending us their new Legion 7i Gen 9 laptop for this video. If you guys remember my Legion 9i review, I mentioned how the 7i might be a better buy for most people, and well, now it's in our hands, and so far, it's pretty awesome. That being said, Lenovo did not sponsor this video and no money exchanged hands. Lenovo also didn't get to see this video before it was uploaded. However, we are working with Lenovo to give away a Legion 7i to one of you. So if you're interested in getting a new laptop, make sure to stay tuned throughout the video, join our brand new Discord server, which will be the home for all things 24 Concept, and of course, subscribe to learn more. Also, I'll be including all the links of all the things that we mentioned today down in the description. So let's get started. So on the subject of laptops, let's start there. Obviously, one of the most important tools for any student is their computer. And having been a college student, I know how important having a good laptop can be. That being said, I'll give my recommendation both for Windows and Mac, as I know different majors have different requirements. First and foremost, the Legion 7i is definitely one I'd have on my list for its ideal 16-inch size and great specs. This is the newest Gen 9 model, and as such, comes with an Intel Core i9-14900HX processor, excellent for all sorts of high-end tasks like 3D modeling, programming, editing, and of course gaming and streaming. And while the i9 might be a little bit overkill for some of you, it does offer a ton of power for the most demanding workloads and majors, meaning you could use this as both your laptop and even your desktop when plugging into an external display using the HDMI 2.1 port or the USB-C Thunderbolt port. It also has an RTX 4070 laptop GPU, which drives this 240Hz 2560 by 1600 IPS display. I've found that these days a 16:10 aspect ratio is perfect for putting documents side by side while also being a great monitor for gaming, especially if you're into fast-paced FPS titles. One of the cool things about the 7i that I love is that when you unplug it from the charger, it'll automatically switch to 60Hz, helping save on battery, which, speaking of battery, the 7i should get you through most of the day with light use, and when on battery power, it'll disable the 4070 to help preserve some of that juice, but automatically kick back on when you start doing anything graphically intense. The charger for the 7i is 240 watts, meaning even if you run out of battery, you can be back to nearly 100% before the end of a class, making it a solid choice for students who also happen to be gamers. Oh, and it's got some great I/O, meaning you won't have to carry a dongle around just to connect your mouse or external drives. And if you're someone who can't live without a numpad, the 7i is one of the only gaming laptops in its class that I've seen that has a full-size keyboard and dedicated function row at under 17 inches. As someone who built their state's first official esports program, trust me when I say having a laptop like this can make a huge difference, especially if you don't have a desktop in your dorm or your school doesn't have an esports designated space. Pricing for the 7i starts at $1699, and the model you see here is $1999. Moving on to my second recommendation for laptops, it's going to be for my creatives. And of course, most of you already know this, but an M series MacBook Pro is probably the easiest recommendation for anyone who isn't really into gaming, but whose major requires the use of macOS for various reasons, whether software or hardware related. I personally was a computer information systems major back in school, so Macs were generally frowned upon, but if you're a part of any of the arts, then a MacBook Pro is going to be a great choice. And honestly, even if you can't get a Pro, even the new M3 MacBook Airs are also really good. I just don't have one with me to test, so I'm just gonna throw that out there. I personally use an M2 Pro model, but the M3 models just came out not too long ago and continue to improve on what makes the M series Macs so darn good. Battery life is incredible. They charge super fast if you opt for the 140 watt charger, and they just crush any creative task you throw at them, especially if you're into film and use Final Cut Pro, which is how I obviously use mine. Oh, and the trackpad. If you're someone who hates carrying around a mouse or any extra peripherals to class, the trackpads on the MacBooks are second to none and are reason enough to consider them if you're someone who wants the most minimal setup possible. Not only that, but if you use an iPhone or an iPad, having a Mac just makes things much more seamless. And with the recent announcement of macOS Sequoia, you'll soon be able to just control your iPhone directly from your Mac, as well as have access to Apple Intelligence. So if you're already running on an iPhone and don't have a need for gaming, but still want incredibly efficient power, then I highly recommend any of the M series MacBooks. They might be a bit limited on ports and a bit expensive, but they are well worth the investment and likely can last you several years before needing to be replaced. But enough about laptops. What about the other stuff? Well, even though I'm not in college anymore, there are a number of tools and peripherals I would have loved to have in school. So, right off the bat, while most laptops today offer decent storage, it's usually not enough. Especially if you're a film major storing your footage or a gamer who wants to have their entire library downloaded because, well, school internet isn't always great for downloading. That's where either my Glyph Atom EV or Atom Pro come in. I'm mentioning both here for budget reasons, but generally speaking, I use these drives every single day for literally both reasons that I mentioned. The Atom EV is a more budget-friendly external SSD that can come with up to 8 terabytes of NVMe storage, which I found to be perfect for my games library. Some of you might know this about me, but I'm a huge Star Citizen fan and love to record clips of gameplay and screenshots while I'm playing. The Atom Pro, on the other hand, is excellent for my creatives who like to edit on an external drive. The Pro has Thunderbolt 3, making it literally the fastest drive I've ever owned. Perfect for moving footage and edits back and forth, or even passing off to a friend or group member for projects. It too comes with up to 8 terabytes of NVMe storage and comes in this durable rubber case and aluminum housing, making it super durable too. Regardless which one you go for, having a good and reliable external drive for school is a big must for me, and I couldn't recommend Glyph products more. And if you're really in need of storage, they also have an external drive called the Black Box. It comes in a couple different variants, but the one I have supports RAID and has 40 terabytes of storage along with a media hub on the front for ingesting. It uses Thunderbolt 3 and can be daisy-chained with other black boxes to expand your storage. I have no idea why you would need more than 40 terabytes of storage as a college student, but hey, maybe you're working on a huge documentary project, or you're simply trying to archive all your footage for safekeeping. Either way, Glyph offers a ton of storage options, so if you're in need of an external drive, definitely check them out. The next thing on my list is a good mouse. Now, like I mentioned, if you're a MacBook user, you probably don't need a mouse, but having a good mouse is still really useful, especially if you're into using macros and things of that nature. And for me, the best mouse by a mile is the Logitech MX Master 3S. It's literally sitting on my desk right behind you. This is the MX Master 3S. I had the MX Master 2, and Rudy happened to leave his 3S here a while ago, and now it's mine. So thanks, Rudy. Something about this series of mice is just perfect for everyday use. It charges via USB-C, lasts several weeks or even a month or two between charges, is super ergonomic, has 2 scroll wheels, a few useful hotkeys, an automated infinite scroll wheel, and it can be connected to up to 3 devices, allowing you to switch between your devices super quick and easy. Not only that, but it's super quiet. You can see my window back there. Obviously, having a really quiet mouse is kind of a weird thing to care about, but when you're in a quiet place like the library, it's nice knowing you can click and scroll away without disturbing anyone around you. My clicky keyboard friends you know what I'm talking about. Now, it may not be great for gaming, so for gaming, I have a couple recommendations depending on the games you like to play. First is, of course, the Logitech G Pro Superlight. I've loved this mouse ever since it came out, and honestly, it's because it's just so simple. It's super light, has an extremely low latency sensor, making it good for wireless use. It has a couple simple buttons and is ambidextrous, giving it a very comfortable yet flexible shape for most hands. I've been using this mouse ever since it came out and still use it to this day. And while it may not be designed for work, it'll definitely still carry you through class with its included USB dongle. The next one is definitely geared toward my hardcore FPS players. This is the Ninjutsu Sora V2, a new name in the gaming mouse space, and I gotta say, I've been really impressed with this one. It's somehow lighter than the Superlight, but still has a full body without any perforations or holes. I know some of you like your open mice, but for me personally, I much prefer a closed shell design. Not only that, but the Sora doesn't come with any bloatware like the Logitechs do. Instead, Ninjutsu did something very clever and put their mouse controls on the browser. So you basically go to the website to make adjustments to your mouse, which I know sounds a bit weird, but after using it, I see where they're going with it. Ideally, you only have to set these settings once, and once you do, you never have to touch it again, meaning your Sora just works. Not only that, but it does come with a nice long USB-C cable and a wireless dongle that, while is a bit larger than others, does have comparable performance to something like the Superlight. And finally, for my macro and hotkey gamers, the good old Corsair Scimitar. Now, I know there's a wireless version of this mouse now, but I've been using this one literally since I was in college myself. That's how much I love this mouse. It's not great for everyday stuff or portability because she's a chonker, but if you play MMOs or need tons of hotkeys for your macros, this is one of the only mice of its kind that I think does it best. Outside that, it's a pretty standard mouse, but I figured I'd mention it because it is really convenient when you need it. And what better pairing for a mouse than a good keyboard? Now, you're probably wondering why I'd be recommending a keyboard, and the reason is because a lot of you likely either have a desktop in your dorm or will dock your laptop to use as a desktop. So having a good keyboard is, of course, a necessity. Now, I know there's tons of nuance with keyboards, but personally for me, I use Newfie, specifically the Air 75 and the Halo 96. The Air 75 is a wonderful travel keyboard that features hot swappable mechanical switches, super large marshmallow-shaped keycaps, and the ability to connect to your devices via Bluetooth, wire, or dongle. And it's designed to work with both Mac and Windows. Not only that, but Newfie boards are priced so well that it's hard not to recommend them. If you've watched my channel before, you know I absolutely love my Newfie keyboards and have even done reviews of both of these boards if you want to check them out in more detail. Now, the Halo 96 is more of a desktop keyboard in that it's a 96% board, meaning you get a full numpad and function row without taking up too much space on your desk. Trust me, I know how little those desks are. And just like the Air, the Halo can connect to your devices via Bluetooth, wire, or dongle, and come with your choice of mechanical switches. I personally love the Baby Kangaroo switches, but they have options for every kind of typer out there. I've been using both these keyboards for a while now and couldn't recommend them more for students. Next on my list are headphones. Now, like with most things on this list, headphones are one of those things that are strongly dictated by your needs and preferences. That being said, my all-time recommendation would be the Sony XM4s. I know there's a newer version, but personally, I still think the XM4s offer amazing sound quality, fitment, and noise cancellation, and can usually be found for less than $300 today, making them an incredible value. The only major downside is that they're not water resistant. So if going to the gym is something you like to do, I'd maybe consider the next option, which if you're looking for something a little cheaper, but still offers great sound, water resistant, and features, then honestly, the Nothing Ear A were a shockingly good pair of earbuds for only $99. I have a full review of them here if you want to check those out. But yeah, if you're wanting a pair of solid earbuds that aren't AirPods, then these are easily my top recommendation. They have a cool design, amazing battery, and a great app that lets you adjust the sound however you like. Oh, and they're very bass heavy. So if you're like me and love extra bass, these got you covered. And of course, I'm going to toss AirPods Pro on this list because, well, they're still really good earbuds. A bit expensive, but if you're already invested into the Apple ecosystem, you can't go wrong with a good pair of AirPods. And finally, for my gaming specific people, the Astro or Logitech A30s. The main reason I love these is because they can connect to two devices at once, which if you're running a dual PC setup for streaming like I am, it's incredibly convenient to not need any splitters or any other extra tech in order to hear audio from both PCs at once. Not only that, but they have solid battery life, look stylish enough that I'd wear them in public, and of course, come with a mic in case you want to do some extra gaming on the go. They unfortunately don't fold down much, but they're under $200 and come in a couple cool designs, like these ones, which are the Mandalorian, which are obviously sick. Moving on to something I think a lot of people hear and know about, but don't actually invest in, and that's a good external battery. Now, there's of course tons of different options and brands to go with, but for me, I've been using Anker stuff for years. So naturally, my recommendation is the Anker MagGo 633 battery bank. This battery bank has lived in my bag for years now, and it isn't the first MagGo I've had either. You guys have probably seen this thing on TikTok. It's literally blown up in the last year. It has a 10,000 milliamp hour capacity, which is enough to charge your phone completely while not being too big to slip into a small crossbody or satchel bag or even a small purse. It comes in a few different colors, has a kickstand, supports MagSafe, hence the name, and has a USB-A and USB-C port to allow you to charge other devices as well as the battery itself. One of my favorite things about Anker batteries is their Power IQ feature, which ensures whatever device you plug in will receive the proper amount of power. This is important to protect your devices from being overcharged or charged too quickly, causing damage to your devices. This is something you'll find on most, if not all, Anker charging products and takes the guesswork out of knowing which charger block goes to which device. One of my other favorite products from Anker is the Power Extend strip, which I use on my desk every single day. Not only does it have 3 full-size outlets, it also has 2 USB-A ports and a 45-watt USB-C port, allowing you to charge and plug in tons of devices all within arm's reach. I know for me, I was always scrounging for more power outlets in my dorm, so having something like this is a game changer if you have lots of devices you need to plug in on your desk. The next thing on this list is a bit of a weird one, but it's something new that honestly might make working in a small space or a shared space a little easier, and it's the Viture Pro XR glasses. Now I know there's a few different options for mixed reality out there, but I think what I like about the Viture glasses is that they are just so easy and simple to use. You don't have to be tech savvy at all to use them or set them up. You just snap on the magnetic cable and plug it into pretty much any device, whether a phone, a laptop, or even a gaming handheld. The glasses have a super crisp 135-inch display that runs at 120 Hz and equates to 1080p. Not only that, but the speakers are surprisingly good and won't disturb anyone around when listening to content. Better yet, they have electrochromatic lenses allowing you to either block out the world or keep an eye on that roommate that constantly steals your Monster Energy drinks from your mini fridge. Not only that, but the Viture XR glasses are the first XR glasses I've personally seen that don't look dorky. Sure, they're a little odd looking, but compared to the alternatives, they're much less distracting should you want to wear them in the library, in a classroom, lecture hall, or cafeteria, making them an easy choice to recommend if you're someone looking for that kind of experience. Not to mention, they're great for solo movie nights where your roommate goes to bed, but you still want to stay up to watch that show or movie. Trust me, living with a roommate who has an opposite class schedule than you can make for quite the challenging living situation and often leads to one of you having to leave the room for a period of time. So, the Viture Pro XR glasses can be a great solution for those of you sharing a room. Now, some of you have probably heard me mention handheld gaming before. And, well, that's sort of what we're known for here at 24 Concept. And what kind of back-to-school list would this be if I didn't recommend some sort of handheld gaming device? Well, while the options might be somewhat limited, I have to recommend the Steam Deck OLED. Given most games these days are available on Steam, the Steam Deck is just the best bang for buck when it comes to mobile PC gaming. And now that the OLED model is out, you can either snag an older LCD model at a discount or grab the OLED model and get a much improved display and battery, making it an easy choice over any of the Windows alternatives. I'll leave a few links to some of my handheld reviews, but overall, the Steam Deck just has everything I'd want in a gaming handheld and works great if you choose to Steam Link to your PC or even use something like NVIDIA GeForce Now to stream your games when you're not in your dorm. If you're not quite able or willing to invest in a gaming setup for school, then a Steam Deck is a great alternative to a console or a gaming laptop. And last but not least, a backpack. Obviously, you need a bag to carry all this stuff, right? Well, strangely enough, my recommendation for a backpack is the LTT backpack. Half of you just rolled your eyes, but the other half are probably wondering who LTT is. Well, LTT stands for Linus Tech Tips. While most people know them for their YouTube videos, they also happen to make some pretty great tech products, one of which being their backpack. Now, the LTT backpack is a bit expensive, but to me, your backpack is one of those things you should absolutely invest in. If you find the right one, it could last you all through college and even into your first job. What I love about the LTT bag is that it's a no-frills, tech-oriented bag. This means it has pockets literally everywhere and all the places you'd want them. You have one quick access zip on the front for quick items like keys, sunglasses, etc. You have this full zip area in the front that I personally use for chargers and miscellaneous things. I basically use it as like a junk drawer. Then you have this huge main compartment that's just wide open for whatever you want. You could toss clothes in there, devices, and has a nice sized water bottle holder, which while I don't have a specific recommendation for, I do have and use the infamous LTT water bottle. Then you have this large laptop section that can fit 2 16-inch laptops and or an iPad or 2 with a charger. This is huge for me because I often do carry 2 laptops with me in order to have both my Mac and a Windows machine at any given time. I get Most of you probably won't do that. But if you're in a tech-heavy major, you may find yourself carrying 2 devices pretty frequently. That, or I often like to put my Steam Deck in here as it fits perfectly at the bottom, which most bags don't do. So if you already have a Steam Deck, then this is a bag you can trust to fit it. Outside that, the straps and hardware on the bag are top-notch. It's super comfortable to wear all day and isn't too big to fit under a desk or a chair if you're in a classroom. Not only that, but it doesn't look gaudy or gamer-y. So if you're not into gaming or tech stuff, this is still a great bag that fits all the things I mentioned on this list. That being said, if the LTT bag is a bit much for you, I also recommend the Jumper from Brevity. It's a bit smaller, but does offer a decent amount of space as well as a camera section if you're running around campus with a camera. Not only that, but it's a bit more fashionable if you're into that sort of thing, and comes in a ton of bright, vibrant colors. Both are good options depending on what you find yourself carrying around campus. And yeah, that's about it for my back to school list. I'm sure I missed a few things like pens and pencils, etc., but I tried to keep everything on this list as tech oriented as possible, but I want to hear from you. If you have some tech suggestions for students, definitely drop them below. Also, let me know what major you are and what sort of things you wish you had while in school. But that's gonna be it for this one. If you enjoyed this video or found it to be useful, please hit the like button, share it to your friends, and as always, make sure to subscribe to see more content like this. And hey, maybe even join our Discord server and come hang out with us, talk about Star Citizen and other tech stuff. You can follow me on X, TikTok, and Instagram at xxiv_concept. That's 24concept. Learn your Roman numerals. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.